Thunder crashed as Ryan Grayson pointed the pistol at his father, his hands shaking, rain dripping from his sleeve. "Don't make me do this, Dad," he hissed. Across the room, Thomas Grayson, pale trembling, stared straight into his son's eyes. "You already did the moment you let hate win. Lightning flashed, the gun went off, and everything went silent. But what if that gunshot wasn't the end, but the beginning? What if this night of betrayal, blood and heartbreak became the very moment that rebuilt a broken family? Stay until the end, because this story will take you through revenge, redemption, and the one power that can heal even the deepest wounds: forgiveness. You'll never look at love, family, or second chances the same way again." Rain drummed softly against the windows of the Grayson Hill residence, a grand old house on the edge of Portland, Oregon. Inside, Mr. Thomas Grayson sat motionless in his armchair, staring at the flickering fire. His once strong hands trembled from illness, but his mind was still sharp enough to sense that something was very wrong. The door creaked open. Dad, Ryan Grayson said quietly, stepping into the room with a faint smirk. "You really should rest. I'll take care of everything from now on." Thomas looked up, his eyes tired but piercing. "Take care of what, Ryan? Of the business, the estate?" "Everything," Ryan said, voice calm but hollow. "You've built a kingdom, but every king needs to know when to step down." Thomas's voice broke with disbelief. "You're talking about your own father's life as if it were a balance sheet." Ryan shrugged. "You had your time. Now it's mine." A moment later, the front door opened again. Emily Harper, the family nurse, appeared holding a small medicine bag. Her kind face softened the tension in the room. "Mr. Grayson, it's time for your medication," she said warmly. Ryan's tone turned sharp. "Emily, I told you to take the day off. I know, but your father's condition is unstable. He needs consistency." Ryan gave her a tight smile. "The only thing unstable here is how often you disobey orders." Thomas intervened weakly. "She's just doing her job." Ryan turned away, hiding his annoyance. "Yeah, I know. Too well." Later that night, Ryan sat in his father's office with Brooke Lawson, his lawyer and secret lover. She handed him a sleek folder, her red nails tapping against the leather. "The papers are ready," she whispered. "You just need his thumbprint. Once it's done, everything's yours." Ryan smiled, eyes glinting. "Perfect." Brooke hesitated. "There's one problem, Emily. She's always around." Ryan's smirk faded into a cold sneer. "Then we'll make sure she disappears." Upstairs, Emily walked past the office door and froze. She'd heard every word. Her pulse quickened, but she kept walking. That night, while preparing Thomas's IV drip, she noticed something unusual. The liquid inside had a faint bluish tint. Her instinct screamed. She quietly replaced it with harmless saline and tucked the original bag into her bag as evidence. The next morning, the house was silent. Ryan entered his father's room with a forced smile. "Morning, Dad." Feeling better, Thomas didn't answer. His eyes were closed, breathing shallow. Ryan pulled the documents from his folder. "Let's just get this done, okay? It's all standard procedure. Just sign and everything will stay in the family." But then Thomas's eyes snapped open. "I know what you're doing, Ryan," he said, voice trembling but strong. "You tried to poison me." Ryan froze. "What? How?" Emily stepped out from the corner, holding the IV bag. "This was in your father's line last night." "You want to explain that?" Ryan's mask cracked. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Thomas interrupted. "You're willing to kill your own father for money." Ryan's composure broke. "You left me no choice. You never trusted me, never believed I could run the company." Thomas's face hardened. "Because greed runs faster than wisdom, and you've proven it." Just then, Brooke entered, pretending confusion. "What's going on?" Emily turned to her. "Don't play innocent. I heard everything. You're both part of this." Brooke's eyes narrowed. "Careful, nurse. You're stepping into something far bigger than you can handle." The tension was unbearable. Ryan stepped forward, towering over Emily. "You think anyone's going to believe you? You're just an employee?" Emily stared him down. "Then fire me. But the police will still get this evidence." Thomas struggled to stand, gripping his cane. "Enough, both of you. I may be old, but I'm not powerless." He looked at Emily. "Call the authorities," Ryan shouted. "No one's calling anyone," and lunged forward, only to be stopped by the sound of the front door opening. Detective Mark Ellison entered with two officers, rain dripping from his coat. Mr. Grayson, he said, nodding to Thomas, we received an anonymous tip about attempted poisoning on this property. Emily met his eyes. That was me. Ryan's face went pale. You called them? No, Thomas said softly. She did the right thing. Something I should have done long ago. Stand up to you. The detective turned to Ryan. Sir, I need you to come with us for questioning. Ryan clenched his fist but didn't resist. As he was led away, his gaze locked with his father's cold, wounded, but still human. When the police left, Thomas sank into his chair exhausted. Emily, thank you. You saved my life, she smiled faintly. Maybe, but he's still your son. Thomas nodded, voice heavy. That's the hardest part. Outside, thunder rolled once more, echoing through the valley. The storm wasn't over, not outside, not inside their hearts. Somewhere beyond the rain, Ryan Grayson's eyes burned with fury and shame. And deep down, Emily knew this wasn't the end. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the interruption, but we hope you will help us improve our content in the future. Do you think Ryan truly deserved to be arrested? If you were in Thomas's place, could you forgive your own child after such betrayal? And if you were, Emily, would you have stayed to help or walked away forever after what happened? The weeks after Ryan's arrest were eerily calm. The Grayson Hill residence no longer echoed with arguments or whispered schemes. Instead, it was filled with quiet, too quiet. Outside, Portland's endless rain returned, turning the city gray and heavy. Inside, Thomas Grayson tried to piece together what was left of his family. But deep down, he knew the storm wasn't gone. It was just gathering strength. Emily Harper stayed to care for him. She wanted to believe it was over, but every creak of the old house made her uneasy. Then one night a letter arrived, no return address. The handwriting was unmistakable. You think you've won, Father, but you took everything from me. Now it's my turn to take what's left of you. Ryan. Thomas's hands shook as he read it. He's out, he whispered. Emily froze. What do you mean they released him on bail? My own lawyer, Brooke Lawson, arranged it. The color drained from Emily's face. You can't stay here. He knows where you are. Thomas shook his head. I'm not running from my son. Not again. That night, Emily double-checked every door and window. The rain had turned into a storm, lightning flashing over the dark hills. Somewhere beyond the forest that surrounded the property, a car engine hummed quietly, then went silent. Inside, Thomas sat by the fire, his cane resting beside him. You were right, he told Emily. I should have seen who Ryan was becoming, but I kept believing he'd change. Emily knelt beside him. Maybe he still can, but only if he wants to. Thomas smiled sadly. Forgiveness is easy to speak about, but hard to live through. The power flickered. The lights dimmed, then went out completely. Stay here, Emily said, grabbing a flashlight. She moved down the hallway toward the generator room, the beam trembling slightly in her hand. The air felt heavier than before. A soft creak echoed behind her. Thomas, she called. No answer. She turned and gasped. Standing at the end of the hall was Ryan Grayson. His face was pale eyes, hollow, soaked from the rain. Hello, Emily, he said quietly. Miss me? She stepped back. You shouldn't be here. He smiled faintly. Neither should you. Before she could speak, Ryan lunged forward, snatching the flashlight from her hand and crushing it against the wall. The beam died, plunging them into darkness. Where's my father? He hissed. Ryan, please, he's still your dad. Don't do this. Don't call him that, Ryan snapped. He made me a criminal. He turned the police on me, ruined my name. My life, Emily's voice trembled, but she held her ground. You did that yourself. A sudden clap of thunder shook the house. From the living room came the sound of shattering glass. Thomas was no longer by the fire. He was standing near the broken window, the wind howling through the open space. Ryan, he said firmly, you don't have to do this. Ryan stepped into the light from the storm, his face streaked with rain and anger. I came here for what's mine. What's yours? Thomas asked softly. All I ever gave you was love and opportunity, and you threw it away. Ryan's jaw tightened. You never gave me love. You gave me control, expectations, pressure. You built an empire, then chained me to it. Brooke Lawson appeared suddenly from the shadows behind Ryan, her expression panicked. Ryan, stop this. It's gone too far. Ryan turned sharply. You sold me out to the cops. I had no choice, Brooke cried. You were losing it. Shut up, he shouted, shoving her aside. The tension snapped like a wire. Thomas stepped forward, voice breaking. Ryan, listen to me. If you do this, there's no going back. Ryan pulled something from his coat pocket, a small pistol wet from the rain. There was no going back the day you called the police, Dad. Emily moved slowly between them, her hands raised. Ryan, please. You don't want to do this. He stared at her eyes full of confusion and pain. Why do you even care? You're not part of this family. Because your father still believes you can be saved, she whispered. And I do too. For a moment, the storm outside fell silent, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Then with a trembling hand, Thomas stepped closer. If you need someone to blame Ryan, blame me. But don't let hatred finish what poison started. Ryan's arms shook, tears mixing with rain. You don't understand. I do, Thomas said softly. Because I was once like you. Angry, lost. But revenge only burns what's left to love. The pistol wavered. Emily took a step forward slowly, gently, then snatched it from his grip and threw it into the fire. The flames hissed as metal hit the embers. Ryan fell to his knees. The rage melted away, replaced by something far heavier, regret. What have I done? Thomas knelt beside him, ignoring the pain in his knees, and pulled his son into an embrace. You came back, Ryan. That's enough. Brooke, still trembling, backed toward the door. The police are coming, she said quietly. They'll be here any minute. Thomas didn't look up. Let them. This time he won't face them alone. The sirens wailed in the distance. Rain poured harder, washing away the blood and broken glass from the floor. Emily stood near the fire, watching father and son cling to each other, as if trying to hold the past together with their bare hands. When the officers entered, Thomas rose slowly. He didn't hurt anyone, he said. He came home to confess. Ryan looked at him, shocked. Dad, why are you protecting me? Thomas smiled faintly. Because forgiveness isn't about what you deserve. It's about who I choose to be. As they led Ryan away, he turned back one last time. His eyes met Emily's, then his father's. For the first time, he didn't look like a villain, just a broken man searching for a way back. When the door closed, Thomas sank into his chair. Emily knelt beside him, tears welling in her eyes. You did the right thing, she whispered. He stared into the dying fire. Sometimes the right thing still hurts. Outside, the storm finally began to fade. The first light of dawn crept through the shattered window, glinting on the wet floor, a quiet promise that even after destruction, morning always comes. 6 months later, the rain-soaked winter in Portland, Oregon, had given way to early spring. The air was clean, the cherry blossoms scattered along the quiet streets, and the Grayson Hill residence, once a place of secrets and pain, had begun to feel like a home again. Thomas Grayson sat on the porch, wrapped in a wool blanket, the morning light soft across his face. He looked older, but also lighter, as if the burden of years had finally eased. Emily Harper brought him a cup of coffee and set it on the small table beside him. You're quiet today, she said with a gentle smile. Thomas nodded. Quiet is good. Quiet means peace. Emily glanced at the folded letter in his hands. From Ryan again, he nodded. He's working at the prison's library now. He says it helps him feel human again. He opened the letter and began to read aloud, his voice trembling slightly. Dad, the days are long here, but I've found something I never had before: clarity. I know I hurt you, and I can't take it back, but I can change what I do from here on out. I help other inmates learn to read, and I've started a small group where we talk about forgiveness. You once told me that hate burns what's left to love. I'm finally starting to understand what you meant. Thank you for not giving up on me. When Thomas finished, he let the letter rest on his lap. His eyes were wet. He's starting to find his way, Emily. She placed her hand gently on his arm. Because you showed him the way. You didn't turn your back on him when everyone else did. He smiled faintly. It wasn't strength that kept me going. It was love. And love is stubborn. It refuses to quit. The Grayson Foundation for Renewal had officially opened that month, built from what remained of Thomas's business fortune. It wasn't a company anymore. It was a sanctuary for second chances. They offered job training for former inmates, support for struggling families, and programs for young people lost in the same anger that once consumed Ryan. Every week, Emily watched Thomas greet new visitors, veterans addicts, young men with the same haunted eyes Ryan once had. He'd shake their hands and tell them, it's never too late to begin again. Then one afternoon, something happened that Thomas never expected. A guard from Multnomah County Correctional Facility called. "Mr. Grayson," the voice said, "your son has been approved for early release. Good behavior, consistent service, and psychological progress. He'll be free in 2 weeks." Thomas couldn't speak at first. He simply closed his eyes, letting the words sink in. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." When Ryan finally walked out of the gates, the sun hit his face for the first time in months. He looked thinner, but his eyes were clear, no longer angry, just humbled. Standing by the car was his father, waiting with the same calm patience he once thought impossible. Ryan hesitated, then walked forward. "I didn't think you'd come." Thomas stepped closer. "I told you I'd be here when you were ready to come home." Ryan swallowed hard. "Home." The word sounded fragile in his mouth. "After everything I did, how can you still call it that?" Thomas smiled through tears. "Because forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It rebuilds the future." Emily watched from a distance, her heart swelling. As father and son embraced the years of resentment, seemed to dissolve into the warm spring air. Over the next few weeks, Ryan worked side by side with Emily and his father at the Grayson Foundation. He repaired furniture, helped organize workshops, and spent evenings in the garden planting new trees. "It's like therapy," he said one evening, his hands covered in soil. Emily smiled. "You're giving life back to the place that gave it to you." He looked at her eyes soft. "You never stopped believing in me, did you?" She shook her head, not for a moment. "Because deep down you were never lost. You were just hurt." Months passed and the house filled again with laughter. Ryan cooked dinner with Emily, while Thomas read in the corner, occasionally pretending to be grumpy about the noise, but secretly enjoying every sound. On the anniversary of the foundation's opening, they hosted a small gathering, friends, neighbors, and people whose lives they had touched. Thomas stood to speak. "A year ago, this house was a battlefield. Tonight, it's a home. I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing love even when it hurts. I forgave my son, and in doing so, I found peace." Ryan took the microphone, voice unsteady. "My father saved me twice, once from prison and once from myself. I can't change what I did, but I can change who I become. And I promise to spend the rest of my life earning the second chance I was given." The room erupted in applause, but it wasn't the loud kind. It was soft, genuine, full of respect. People had come expecting a tragic story, but they found hope instead. Later that evening, as the guests left and the lights dimmed, Thomas, Ryan, and Emily sat together on the porch under the stars. The air was calm, the world quiet. Thomas broke the silence. "You know, I used to believe the worst thing a man could lose was his wealth or his health, but I was wrong." Ryan looked at him. "What's the worst thing? Losing faith in the people you love." "I almost did. But you both taught me that faith, like love, grows back if you give it time." Emily smiled. "Then we all saved each other, didn't we?" Thomas chuckled softly. "Yes, I suppose we did." From the hill, they could see the city lights glimmering below, reflections dancing in the nearby river. It wasn't just the end of a storm, it was the beginning of something enduring. The Graysons were no longer defined by what they had lost, but by what they had found again: love, forgiveness, and the courage to start anew. As the night deepened, Thomas whispered almost to himself, "It's never too late to come home." Ryan turned toward him. "And it's never too late to say thank you, Dad." The stars above shimmered like 1,000 silent witnesses, as if the universe itself had forgiven them too. So, dear friends, watching this, what do you think of this story? Did it touch your heart the way it touched mine? Do you believe that forgiveness can truly heal even the deepest wounds? If you felt the power of this story, comment 100 below to let us know you're part of this journey. And tell us, which country are you watching from today? Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a reminder that it's never too late to start over, never too late to love, and never too late to forgive.